All right, I think we are recording. This is Mark Anderson with the Chattanooga Writers Guild, and we are recording this in October of 2020 during our global health crisis. And instead of this, we're going to interview writers from a poetry writing group that are members of the Chattanooga Writers Guild that normally meet in a home, but now they're doing Zoom World. So, do you guys have a name for your poetry group? What do you call it?
The group.
The poetry group.
Chattanooga Writers Guild Poetry Group.
Right.
Oh, really? For writers, I'm so unimpressed. That's like, so I made some notes. These are some possible names you could call yourselves. Daughters of Dickinson, Divas of Words, Verb Divas.
Women.
How about
We
fairies?
have guys.
Helga's Hellions.
I thought of this before I knew Finn was coming. But, you know, he's can be whatever. Fairies of sparkling, floating words of delight. How about wondrous words floating from friend to friend?
I think you need a poetry group, dude.
We will work on that, Mark.
We save our creativity for our poems.
Well, I'm just kind of shocked that we don't have a poem. Where's the creativity in the poetry group?
In our poems.
In the poetry.
There you go.
Right. We have these other groups in the Chattanooga Writers Guild, and who do you think is the best writers? I mean, up against, see, I belong to the boring group called Creative Nonfiction and Poetry that has Sherry and John and Finn and Leanne and some others. And
Yeah.
head to head.
Of course, we think we're the best.
Are you? Okay. Well, you may be. But, you know, we've got this monthly contest going on. And at the end of the year, I think there should be an award for the group that has the most winners. And of course, that
And what do you call winners? Who would you call winners? What do they have to do to be a winner in your eyes?
We have a poetry contest. It's in our newsletter or on the website. And yeah, our monthly contest, we just started it in September, and it's free to members, and you just submit something, and we have a judge for October. Calvin Beam is the judge, and Kate is managing this series of events. So I just think that I'm going to keep track of which groups have the most winners, and we'll see what kind of turnout we have at the end of the year if you guys can compete. And
You also need to keep track of the people who have full-time jobs versus people who don't have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And that might take into consideration some of the people who don't get an opportunity to enter the contest.
we've made it very simple. But a competition requires a good competitive name. So I think, you know, that's part of it. Okay, so introductions. We'll start with Helga. Helga Kidder, who was the founder of this group. She was one of the founding members, and we'll get to Finn. Helga Kidder, raise your hand, Helga. So we know. All right. Is
Where are you?
the founding member
Still
of
alive.
the Writers Guild, and she has started this poetry.
And better than ever.
2001.
Amen.
She has 4 poetry collections: Wild Plums, Luckier Than the Stars, Blackberry Winter, and Loving the Dead, which was awarded the 2020 Blue Light Press Book Award. And at the end of this video, there will be a slide with the link to that with each one here. You can find that on all of her books on Amazon. And should we go to Finn then? Wait, Finn. That's Finn. He's a charter member of the Chattanooga Writers Guild, twice a board member. He's been in this group since it started. His new collection of poetry called The King's Coin, Danish American Poems, as well as his collection Fire Poems, can be purchased at the Winder Binder bookstore in Chattanooga. He's written poetry since his teenage years in Copenhagen. Both his master thesis and his doctoral dissertation dealt with poetry. And he likes to say, I don't know nothing. This is Finn's book, Fire Poems. That's
Very
one.
nice. Yeah.
So, and I think all of you have something in our anthologies. Okay, Finn's holding up his new book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the,
Let's see. Let's jump up to Karen Phillips. Let's see. Do I have Karen? Let's see. Karen returned to writing in 2005 and has been published in 2 devotional books for writers, a nonfiction anthology on several poetry sites. Most recently, she was a finalist in the poetry category of the Chattanooga Writers Guild Spring Contest, which is that book. And she's in here, and I'm not sure if we're going to read that later. But you don't have any published books out per se, right, Karen?
No, not at this point. Hopefully someday.
Okay. Well, I probably should bite my tongue and say we really shouldn't judge. I don't know if that should have even brought up. What does that matter if we're writing for fun?
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I am published though, so I do like that.
yeah.
All right. We have KB Ballentine, and KB, let's see, her 6th collection, The Light Tears Loose, was published in 2019 by Blue Light Press. Ballentine received her MFA in poetry from Lesley University, Cambridge, Massachusetts. She currently teaches theater and English to high school students, composition and literature for a local college. And we will also give your website. You only mentioned your 6th book, but I have 2 of them here on my bookshelf. That one,
Yay.
Leaving,
Number 4,
and What Comes of Waiting.
number 3.
And where are these available at? Are they on the website are they on Amazon, or where can people find them?
They're on Amazon, and the different publishers sell them at their sites too. But
Okay.
Amazon is easy, I guess, if people want to do prime shopping.
Okay. So let's see, we're to Chris. Chris is the current treasurer for the Chattanooga Writers Guild. She's also earning her bachelor's degree, and she works full-time. She has poetry published in Poetry Quarterly, 3-Line Poetry, Haiku Journal, and several other online publications. She won 2nd prize in the 2016 Writers Guild Anthology contest, which then goes into the anthology called Thus Your Life Grows. And I don't know what else. It's so great to have. Chris was treasurer in previous years of our organization, and she returned this year, which is a great help to us. So we have a lot of years of history here in this little group, don't we? Okay.
Yeah, but I'm the baby of the poetry writing. Now, all these other ones are definitely seasoned and much better. So, but I can claim I'm a numbers girl, so I'm good at treasuring. I don't know about poetry.
Oh,
You're good at poetry.
Yes, you definitely have a gift.
Maybe your strategy is like mine, is just to hang out with more seasoned poets, and it's supposed to rub off somehow.
I'm not much ahead of her. I
It
got a
definitely
little start.
definitely works. Definitely works. Yes.
So Rachel Crumble, you know, I heard a great interview with you on Richard Wynnum's show a few months ago. I think they replay it once in a while. It's fascinating. You're going to have to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you write, and because I don't have anything, I didn't get anything.
Oh, I sent it to you. But yeah, so I write mostly poetry. I write some fiction, but I haven't published any fiction. I have an MFA from Vermont College, and I don't have a book out yet, though I keep sending out my first manuscript, and I need to get ready to send out the next one, and it might get published first. I don't know, but the first one was a finalist with Blue Light a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And it was a finalist before that with another thing earlier, the Ohio and the Journal. But anyway, and I don't think about writing in terms of, oh, I write this kind of poetry or I write that kind of poetry. But I guess I write mostly maybe meditative, lyrical, some narrative poetry, but poetry that, yeah, I don't know how to categorize my
Well, it
poems.
seems like your name's always coming up as being an accolade in some journal or something. So I'm sure you're pretty active in submitting. I
have been recently, yeah. I've published in Typishly and Porterhouse Review. I think I was a finalist for an editor's choice. Typishly, it was like one of the most shared poems. That's the one I'm going to read tonight. And a couple forthcoming in Spoon River Review and Bluing the Blade. And one just came out in the Banyan Review, which is an international poetry review. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, Common Ground, couple others. Yeah, several.
All right. Well, anyway, that little bit of history there tells us we got some pretty good writers here. I want to ask you first, now this writers group, Helga's and Finn, started in 2001, so it's been around a while. And we have several people here that have been served the Chattanooga Writers Guild as a director or an officer. So we're really thankful for that. And what do you love about this organization? Why do you come to a writers group? Do you feel it really helps your writing? Why do you write in community? When I say community, I mean people that participate with other writers, reflecting on their writing, those kinds of things. Why not go away and write
in my opinion, it gives you a way of reading your poems to others who also write poetry and get a good discussion about it, and whether the poem can be understood, whether you need to change something, whatever it is. But I think that's why I keep coming back to my group.
Yeah. And I've got another reason as well. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One of my reasons is to get structure and have deadlines. So when I know that one of our meetings is coming up, I work on it to get something ready.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have that deadline, my lazy nature would probably just take over and I wouldn't get anything written.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm probably only one who's got a laziness problem. But
No.
That's a good point. That is a gift of the group. I think each person brings something unique. KB is the queen of verbs, really well-chosen verbs, among other things. And I think Finn brings some logic sometimes that the estrogen in the group might not always pick up right away.
Right.
And yeah, and we just, each of us brings our own experiences, and therefore we can mention something different that's helpful.
And when you're reading to yourself, oftentimes you don't read out loud, so you don't think about it. You read what you think you have on the page. And when you're forced to be, or when you choose to be in a community of writers and you read out loud, you catch a lot of things that you might not have. And if you don't catch them, somebody else is bound to, because our group is really, really good. They're very skilled at finding things and asking questions and saying, did you really mean this? Or you realize that if you put some punctuation here, it will change the meaning. And so that's very important, especially in poetry, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, what about criticism? Do you ever feel like there's negative criticism? Like someone might not want to go to a poetry group because they don't want to, they're afraid to get criticized.
Well,
No.
well,
Stay home.
When we talk about discussion, we don't say critique so much, but first of all, we read the poem, we look at the poem with an open mind, and we talk about first the good things that are in the poem, and then we can talk about details that maybe need to be changed.
but
You have to be able to accept criticism, or you'll never improve your writing. Yes, you might get your feelings hurt, or but you, like you said, you got to let that go, because we're all here to be better writers, and criticism is part of that.
Okay. Is it
And it's
balanced
very-
with positive inspiration?
yeah, this is a very positive group, and all the criticism is very constructive. Very constructive.
I agree. It's
What's
it's also very stimulating to hear other people's work. I just feel so fired up when I leave, because I've heard the amazing things that everybody else comes up with, and each is so unique and has their own style. And also, this is almost like a therapy to me to go to this group, because everyone is very warm and caring. And so it's a great atmosphere to expose your writing.
I think you have to find a perfect group too. Well, not necessarily a perfect group, but find a group that fits. And I'm sure that all of the writers, the Chattanooga Writers Guild groups are friendly and supportive. But I have personally been in other groups that are not, and I don't last long in them. And a lot of times those groups don't seem to last very long, because it's just a spirit of competitiveness and spitefulness. And that's not what you want for your writing. You want something like what we have here, which is very supportive. And even if somebody says something that I don't agree with, ultimately it's my poem, and I can choose to change it or not. It's just that if several people are saying the same thing, you might want to look at it, because you're not seeing it with a fresh eye like they are.
All right. Well, that's very helpful. I know the group I go to is, I've been going a couple of years, and I'll come home after, and I have my sheets of paper. They've made notes on it when we were meeting in person anyway. And I'll do my revision when I get home and say, I think I'll ignore that one, but look at this. And it's usually very helpful.
Yep.
So my next question is, I want to know what you really value or esteem in poetry. So if you were a judge, what are the top 2 criteria on your judging list that you'd look at a poem and I say, this is what I'm looking for? And we need to decide an order here to go in.
2 things is really not nearly enough, but what I most look for in poems is a transcendence of the subject and meaning. But after that, I look at simile and metaphor, assonance, alliteration, all those things, and definitely the image in a line that becomes important. But First of all, transcendence and meaning,
Okay,
in my opinion.
thanks, Helga. I hope our audio problems don't start getting intense. This technology is wonderful, but every call I go on, there's some technical. So we're gonna watch
Do
your
you want
mic.
us to mute ourselves while we're not talking?
No, we'll be okay, because,
Okay.
okay, Rachel, what do you think?
I think when I saw the question, you said 3 and then you cut it down to 2. So,
You can do 3.
like-
This is casual.
okay. I think I said, you know, of course, technical skill, interesting narrative perspective, even though not all poems are narrative, but still they have a perspective, and some sort of an invitation within them, whether it's to mourn or rejoice or contemplate or just enter into the world of the poem. Yeah, some kind of invitation.
Wow, that's very helpful and concise. You got it down. On my screen, right above you is Karen. What do you think, Karen?
One thing that jumped out at me that I hadn't really thought about before is freshness. There's so many poems on the same topic, but if a person is using their own voice and approaching it in a fresh way, then it gets my attention. And the juxtaposition of words maybe that you wouldn't expect to be used together, something like that, that makes you think about something in a unique way.
Fantastic. This video is going to be a valuable resource to people. KB, what do you think?
I think the first thing I look at is it going to stand the test of time? I mean, if it's something that is briefly topical, I'm not sure, you know, I want something that I think is going to last. The poems that we keep coming back to are those that do the transcendence that I think Helga was talking about. So anything that's purely right here, right now might be a problem. I'm looking for something that will keep going. And then the freshness of image and language, like Karen was talking about. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there because I think it's really difficult. It's hard on publishers. It's hard on contest judges. If your writing isn't the best writing, as in you haven't cleaned up the punctuation and the capitalization and the spelling, I think that's really hard on the people who are reading it, and you're trying to ask them to overlook carelessness or sloppiness, I'm not sure which it is, when, you know, I have a really hard time looking past that to see the image and the topic if I'm going, wait, what? Because I have to keep backtracking because the technical writing part of it isn't good. And I know that sounds really bad. It sounds, you know, like, what does that have to do with poetry? But the whole idea is to make, you know, help the reader. You're inviting them into a world and you want them to understand what you're saying. And if your writing isn't, if your technical skills aren't crisp and clear, it's very difficult for a reader to get it.
That sounds great. And I have to, now you're an English teacher, right?
Yeah.
How come that stereo? But are you a grammar Nazi?
Yes, I am.
You wear that, you accept that. Cool.
I do.
Ben.
Yeah.
What are your...
Two things. I'm big on structure. In other words, does the structure of the poem support the topic and the transcendence, which I consider figurative language? If it's structured so that it's a whole, so that elements from the beginning go through the whole poem and that kind of thing, so you can see a unity through the poem. That's important to me. And then the other thing I look for is well, fresh language, but also rhythm, music in the language, and some kind of musical presentation, which often is just not there. Very often prose, regular prose, and especially technical prose, it doesn't tend to be musical at all. And we do get some so-called poems that are just dead as far as the music is concerned. So those are my two.
Those are good. Chris, what do you look for in a poem?
Well, for me, I feel like I'm kind of the outsider because I don't have a writing background. I'm an analyst. I come from an accounting background. So I kind of look for, would it make sense to anybody who read it in the world? Does it flow well? Does it move me, as Rachel put? Does it invoke an emotion, whether it be sadness, happiness? That way is
Oh, darn, we're having some technical problems. Chris is freezing up.
does it make? Sorry.
I wonder if that's my computer. Could be. Did anyone else?
It may be because everybody.
It's mine. Okay.
Okay.
But
But anyways, and I don't know if that makes me, maybe I'm not the best qualified as a judge. But I kind of look at it as, is it ready if they really, read it and thought about it, that they could kind of, get something out of it. That's kind of my perspective.
Okay. So let's move on to some readings, and I'm going to hope that my internet is stable enough to have a good signal. It's just my little computer, I think. Okay. Helga, are you ready to read yours?
I am ready, and this is actually a fun poem, and I thought we all have probably been cooking more. So my poem is called Vidalia. My neighbor refuses to eat onions, sliced, diced, or sauteed in butter. He detests the pungent aroma, the fragrance of you rising to his nose as he ladles a spoonful from his bowl. Oh, onion, you don't deserve this rude rejection. I relish the tears in my eyes as I cut you for salads, soups, with peppers, with steak. I love you sauteed, roasted, or cooked, even raw if sliced thin. You are my go-to, my helper, my comrade in arms in the kitchen. I wonder what is wrong with my neighbor. Last night he fell into the dishwasher. I bet not eating onions has loosened his backbone, weakened his knees, softened his hairless chest. Oh, onion, as you grow your layers round and round beneath golden skin, remember that you are a blue blood, a princess named Vidalia, crowning the world with flavor.
All right.
Wow.
That is
I love
awesome.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. And I'm an onion fan. I love them. But an ode to an onion. So what's prompted your little creative heart to, were you just sitting in your kitchen one day cooking away and you thought, and it just came to you? What was the prompt for that?
No, I dedicate every morning to writing, and I write about what has moved me the day before, and it was the neighbor who doesn't like onions because I've been cooking some meals without onion and I don't like it, so I figured I have to write about it. It just
Okay.
came naturally. It just happens because I write every day, so I can write about anything.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That was, now how have you, what are you doing with that? That should be submitted somewhere. What do you do with that? Someone, I think.
Well,
Somewhere.
maybe some food magazine would like it. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
try
it was just fun to, it was just fun to write, and I enjoyed it, and that's what's important to me.
Well,
And hopefully people who hear it or who will maybe read it will enjoy it as well. Maybe they can connect to it.
well, I think as a Writers Guild, part of it is I want to encourage you or provide, as an organization, we should sort of provide opportunities or help each other channel that. I want to, we're here for your success. So I want to see that in a book somewhere. I don't know where, but your friends.
I do too.
The community should help you get that somewhere.
Thank you. Thank you.
See a food chapbook coming out of this.
Oh, yeah.
Could be. Rachel, what do you have to read tonight?
I have a short poem that was published in Typishly in 2019. I'm trying to open this. Oh my. Okay, and it's called Protocol for Wings. And it was one of the most shared poems. It's on this online magazine.
Okay.
Protocol for Wings. Don't let their newfound weight sink your shoulders or snake your spine. Pinch your shoulder blades together. Flatten your back. Center inside a feathered frame. Don't be ashamed. Only the ones who were meant to will notice. The rest will look through you, as always, seeing only their own need. Brush them gently with your wings, and they will remember something halcyon and gone, pushing past you. Once you too sleepwalked through your life. Forgive them. As for flying, practice standing tall for now, wings fully spread, like a weightlifter holding a stance. More instructions to follow.
That's good.
What?
Yeah.
I maybe I'll just ask the same question. Where did that come from? What was on your mind that made you think of that?
Wow, there was a lot of things going on right then. One of them was physical pain of injured shoulder, and I had to learn or relearn how to literally like stand tall and put my shoulders back because embracing against the pain, I had kind of done that. And when I thought about it, in order to visualize it, because I'm a visual person, I thought about spreading my wings. Every time I had to like, oh, I got to stand up tall. I got to spread my wings. And so that's where the visual image came from. And at the same time, I was going through some personal things that in a work situation that were wounding to me personally. And so it was just kind of a message that I needed.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think a lot for my poetry anyway, it sounds like there's something in life that prompts it. It's not just an intellectual, well, I think I'll write about a bird today. There's something going on inside, and that means that's why it connects with other people. We have a shared experience. That's the beauty of art in general, I think. So when you read that, I can obviously hear there's a lot going on there in a very personal way. And where did you say that that is published? And are you doing more with that? Will that go into a collection someday, do you think?
Well, it's in the first manuscript I have, so I hope so, unless the
Okay.
second one comes out first. But yeah, it's in Sister Sorrow, which is the manuscript that's still making its rounds. And the online publication is called Typishly.
Okay.
Typish.
All right. So on my screen right above you is Karen. So we'll just go right up to Karen. Are you ready to read something?
I am. I found that poem, and I'm not sure it's the right version, but close enough. A poem
one?
in the sky.
And this was in last year's anthology.
Was
right?
it last year? I don't remember.
Well, let me make sure we're looking at the same one. Yeah, a poem in the sky. In the 2019 Chattanooga Writers Guild anthology. I should close my curtain. Go ahead.
Okay. A poem in the sky, a psalm up high, a backdrop for a lullaby. Yellow moon, lemon drop, scoop of saffron ice cream, golden coin, big ball of butter, daffodil moon, forsythia moon, yellow gypsy bangle, golden tambourine, an orb of gold, a scepter regal, a millstone made of cheese. I look at you as I drive by. You follow me soundless through the sky, spread black and silken, lit only with your throbbing golden light, praising your maker in the fleeting night.
All right,
Right.
nice.
So what prompted this? Where did this come from for your life?
Well, it's actually from a drive I was doing. My husband was driving his car and I was driving my car. It was when he was living and working in Nashville, but we still had our house here. So during the week, he would be in Nashville. And as we were driving home, there was this enormous yellow moon. And I could not stop looking at it. It's a wonder I didn't run off the road, but it was just magnetic. It was just so gorgeous. And it just prompted me when I got home to write all those things down.
One of the things I look for in good writing is imagery. And so when I read this, it's just one image that folds into another image that folds into another one. And that makes a very delicious poem.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to skip over me and go to KB.
All right. So this poem was workshopped by this group and will appear in my upcoming collection, my 7th collection coming out with Iris Press in the spring. So this is called One Thing I Have Learned. Sorry, you guys caught me out of my home, so I've got different things going on here. One thing I have learned. When you wake and the dream still sings, when fireside strokes warmth into your bones, when vapor licks the river, kisses your cheek with mist, when wren and bluebird dwell in the curve of hickory and stars pulse the moon's heartbeat, know you are in my marrow, in my soul. No stranger to loss, shadows of the fall still sizzle the gloom just out of sight. Truth thirsts for happiness, gnaws the edge of grief until you surrender. Let memory drift to that kitchen table where mama and aunts weave gossip and love tastes like fried chicken, perfumed hugs, or like the first tug of your son's fingers, or even following dad's faltering steps across ammonia-scented rooms. Knowing this will hurt, but risking it anyway. More than a muscle, the heart breathes, leaving nothing behind.
Woo.
Love that one.
So, care to tell us where that work began? Sounds like there's some very personal things in it, but you did share it publicly.
Well, there's a quote by Al Young talking about in the country light where we lived and loved, and the dream still lives, or something like that. I was thinking about all the things that we go through in life. Everyone, one of these doesn't have to belong to one person more than another, but it's just, I had images of Southern families where they're getting together and the kids listening under the tables, and that wasn't my experience, but I hear people talk about that all the time, and I think, wow, what a wonderful experience that would be. And so I was just going through the different things that make a life, I guess, for all different people.
Well, you're definitely an image, hope this is a compliment, image writer, because it's just, but you have a very beautiful talent for finding the words for that. Because again, I can see those things that you're describing. That's what it prompts in me to.
Thank you.
Anyway.
That's definitely a compliment.
Okay. And so when you workshopped it, just quickly, what kind of things did you change after the workshop?
Well, if I had my handwritten copies, my typed copies, I could tell you all I've got right now is the manuscript, the proof from the publisher. So I don't, I don't have all of that stuff with me, but Rachel's really good at finding grammar stuff for me, which, because everybody misses stuff. So she's really good at that too. And Helga is really good at saying, this is a great line. Maybe it should be the first line. And I go, oh yeah. So that's probably something that came up at one point. So, I think it was Rachel talking about it. Everybody's got a different gift to share. And that's why community of writing is so important. You can't necessarily write with everybody around you, but you should, I really believe that you should find a community of writers that you trust to bounce your work off. And hopefully they have all different skills so that, it helps you in lots of different ways. I remember writing a poem one time and Bruce Majors said, turkeys don't fledge at that time of year. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And I had it in my poem. So, he's good at nature stuff. And so I was just like, wow, thank you for telling me that, because it would have gone out. And so.
Alrighty. Finn, we're ready for you. What are you going to read from? Your new book?
Yeah, I'm going to read from my new book. The King's Coin, Danish American Poems. And this one has been workshopped in this group as well. And the theme is religion, which comes back again and again in my poetry. And this looks like a blank verse sonnet, 14 lines. This Danish church. I thought I knew that I'd left behind all churchiness for simple earthiness. What made me stop to photograph this church, this ancient monument for priest oppression, this boulder-built, step-gabled, lime-washed edifice of parsons and of bishops' rule? Yet here my lenses focus sharply on red tile, white walls, gray rock. My feet directed me inside to stand hushed, mystified, and baffled at the altar's rail. Here, sprinkled blessings had touched my infant head. Before, like faded frescoes, my parents' pledges died. But nothing could erase the bone-deep echo of hymnal praise for the landlord of this house.
Wow. I'm amazed. That is got so much in it. As I listened to it, I heard your style of alliteration, because there were several lines there that I picked up like that. The oppressive priest. The next one is boulder built. And there's one before that. So I'm hearing that poetic, that sound thing that we do in poetry that we like. And then meaning, for when I think about judging any whether it's fiction, non, or poetry, I look for a meaning, that connection to human. I guess my theory is, we like art because it's a shared human experience. And definitely anyone that reads that and as a thoughtful person, reflective, is going to say, yeah, I do. Those are common human struggles that we have with religion. And many of us live here in Bibleville in the South. That's a constant tension in our lives, trying to make meaning out of that. So I appreciate that poem a lot.
Thank you.
And we'll end up with Chris, and hoping my Wi-Fi won't mess her up again. And I've heard your poetry before, Chris, and I think you were saying that you didn't feel like you fit. Maybe you're too analytical or the one-sided brain too much, but I think we'll hear what you're going to read, but I'm going to be listening for the lyrical qualities. So go ahead. What are you going to read for us?
Okay. This one is called No Time to Dwell. I think it'll probably be pretty self-explanatory. It has been accepted in Inlandia, a literary journal online, post from the pandemic. So this one's called No Time to Dwell, which I hope doesn't transcend because I don't want to go through this again. No time to dwell. Black wings feather lip the horizon, an indelible spot marring the blue as it disappears into the leaves, seesawing dogwood blooms. I don't normally see crows swaggering mid-morning on a Wednesday or hear the garbage truck hum the pavement, cans banging the rear loader. By now, I'm usually at the office, listening to copy machines spit reams of paper, telephones ringing, and chatter invading my focus. I watch my husband play with our German Shepherd while we shelter in place, spared the process of unemployment, an underlying condition, and loneliness. I try not to think about the rash decisions to flatten the curve, the widespread consequences, intended or not. At the dining table, I tap away on my laptop, wind chimes sing, sway a spring tune, nestlings chirp new life on the front porch, and the washing machine spins my pajamas clean for work tomorrow.
That's good.
Work in pajamas. What a season we've gone through. Don't you know it? Let's see. Well, I think that's a beautiful poem and very meaningful and so timely. What a way to end our evening. But where did that start from for you? What?
Well, it was a Wednesday, and that was probably the day before our poetry group on Thursday. And as Finn says, I had to have a poem. So I was trying to think about it, and I was literally just kind of looking out the window and saw the garbage truck and heard it, and I'm like, I kind of didn't know what it was at first, and when I looked, I was like, oh, that's the garbage truck. I said, I don't normally hear that. So it was just kind of what was going on at the time. It was back in the spring because that's when the dogwoods were blooming. So it was not long after we were, I was told to take my laptop and go home and work. And so that's kind of where that came from.
Yeah, well, we're going to see what came out of this shutdown, epidemic stuff, because there's a lot of writing and good stuff going on.
Yeah.
But see, I wanted to say, Chris said she hoped it doesn't transcend because of, she didn't want to go through it again, which I agree. But with that's perfect for the anthologies. There are lots of things coming out, specifically COVID related, but with just a couple of tweaks on that could be about anybody enduring an illness from home. And so it does. There are only like 2 lines in there, or 2 little phrases that you would want to change if you wanted to. And then that would be something that, again, it's perfect for all time. So.
Well, and they've resurrected some old poetry from the 1919 flu. And
Right.
so it's,
Yeah.
epidemics will happen again.
Okay, thanks for that, but okay. But you're right. I mean, history does repeat itself. So, hopefully we will learn from this and do better the next time. But yeah, that's true. I mean, like you said, can make some tweaks to it, but I think it's a good history. I mean, it's something I can go back and read, 10 years from now and just immediately bring back those feelings and how I was feeling at the time, literally going through it. Or even, the next generation reading this and thinking, oh my gosh, what was it like back then? Well, here, read this. This is what it was like.
Yeah, that moment in time is an important thing to encapsulate. Absolutely.
For sure. Well, we've had an amazing discussion. I'm really glad we did this and that we recorded it. And so I'm going to just finish by thanking you all, and it's an honor to be with you and to be part of this organization, the Chattanooga Writers Guild. And so let's see, is there anything else I need to say? Okay, this is just the end. Do we need a song to go out, a theme song for this show? Okay, we're stop recording. Oh my gosh.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. This was
Thank
great.
you, Mark.
That was fun.
Thank you
Good to
for
see everyone too.
having us.